Okay. Hi guys. Ali.
Hello, Graham.
Okay. Okay. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi. Okay, guys. So, good evening to everyone. We have in the studio with us Ali. Ali. So Ali will be walking us through his compliance journey. Once again, welcome to Behind the Defense Lines. So very quickly, we just want to encourage you all. You can like our videos, you can subscribe to our channel, so you get to see what we post our updates about. So we'll commence with Ali. Ali will just give us a briefing to his name, his background, and what he does. Ali, go ahead. Over to you.
Okay, Graham, good evening. My name is Ali Alibiu. I work for Union Bank as a compliance manager. I have over 7 years of experience in banking, and I currently I currently cover Northeast region. That is one of the most um, places that been hit with a lot of that is hit with insecurity. So, in a nutshell, all my life I've worked around risk. I started my career as an internal control officer. I That is in Union Bank. I've worked with Fidelity, Access, and now I'm back to Union Bank as a compliance manager. Thank you.
Tell us how you got into the compliance space. What? Hear me?
Okay, as I mentioned, I entered compliance through
Position.
internal control. I entered compliance through internal control. In 2018, when I started as a management trainee in Union Bank, I did not have a department, so it was more like we are under training and we moved around different departments of the bank, HR, compliance, internal control, marketing, operations in the branches. So that gave me a broad understanding of what I wanted to do. So we're having a meeting then with the head of internal control, Abigail, and something just um, she just called me that, how are you? I said fine. She said because I don't know, maybe she saw something in me, maybe based on the questions I was asking, maybe probably the interest. So she was like, would you like to join internal control? And sure, that was the first offer I even got before we concluded the management trainee program then. So I was like, oh, okay, let's see how it goes. I kind of took interest from there, and I joined the department, internal control. So moving to Fidelity Bank, I was doing the same thing as internal control officer. Spent 2 years there, and I moved to Access Bank, which was more of a hybrid role. It was more of compliance and control, where it's combined. You know, although yes, my I can see what internal control officers do too is part of what we do, but we kind of do more of a comprehensive risk management in cases of AML, anti-money laundering, countering financial financing of terrorism, and other regulatory mitigations in the branch. So, as a bank, you are highly regulated. That is in terms of, I don't think there's any industry in Nigeria currently that is as regulated as banks. We have CBN, NDIC. So to a stretch, we have other other regulatory bodies like the STEC. We also have CAC. To an extent, they review what we do. So that's that in all. When you are an internal control person or a compliance person, you're expected to have an understanding of the regulations, both internal regulation and external, but particularly you are focused on the external regulations. So from there, I developed interest in compliance, in AML, in AML, and regulatory frameworks, and transition fully into compliance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So just tell us what a typical day is like for a typical day as a compliance manager now. What's your routine like?
So my typical work day as a compliance manager, in compliance, I would say no 2 days are the same. So today you may be on your phone throughout, going through TikTok, doing nothing. Tomorrow you may spend the whole day in ESCC. Next tomorrow you may start reviewing transactions from suspicious transactions, that is irregular transactions that are passing through accounts. In some cases, you can start standing as an advisor to both customers. Peculiar cases, there are instances where account officers, that is relationship managers, will invite you over, to explain one or two things why a customer needs this to, establish a relationship, that is to open an account with your establishment, with your bank. So there are instances like that. Sometimes it could be bottlenecks that the operation staff are facing. So they could ask for your input. So it's more of advising business teams, reviewing transactions, that is irregular transactions, both irregular and regular, and reviewing policies, attending meetings, and handling escalations that have to do with you. Some instances you have regulators that come to the branch. I've had experiences where auditors from CBN come into a branch, start asking questions, but you'll be informed that please come, CBN are here. So you have to go there and try and explain one or two things to them in order not to find your establishment wanting. So it's very important that you have your ears to on the ground in as a compliance officer, as a compliance manager. You have to ensure that you are always there, you are on top of your game when it comes to knowledge of regulations, understanding what is the current trends in your physical environment and your business environment too as a whole. Thank you.
So, what do you think is your most demanding task or responsibility within the compliance space? What do you think takes up bulk of your time in your daily routine? What do you think takes up bulk of your time in your daily routine?
Okay. I would say AML investigations. So why did I pick that? Basically, it's you are going through customers' accounts. You have to spend a very long time to understand the dynamics of the customer's business. That is from the transaction history, the statement of accounts of a particular client or customer. You have to, review each and one of those items in that statement one by one to understand that, okay, this customer on on the data that we have about this customer. Customer says he's a teacher. However, we are seeing like huge amount of inflows into that his account. So is he doing a different type of business? Now you are basically asking yourself. So the second part is there's an intermediary between you and the customer, who is the relationship manager. Now, you send a mail to the relationship manager. Sometimes you have to, some respond quickly, some may be occupied, some may have even missed your email. So you have to follow up based on those calls, because you have made inquiries about the customer source of business, more information about the customer, those particular irregular transactions now that are passing through that customer's account. What are they for? You want to understand this customer and properly assess the customer based on your risk base. Now, you find out that you have to place calls. Now, the RM now calls the customer, and customer, some, yes, they are, what do you call it? They will actually cooperate with you, give you the information you need. Some may say no, that why are you asking all those questions, Now, this calls for a very long, investigation, and that takes most of the time. Again, there's also the issue of KYC review, particularly with corporate accounts, because you realize that we have different sectors in the country, and the KYC requirements for each type of client or customer is quite different, that you need to properly, review what the information that the customer has provided. It's not about just even providing it. You have to do your independent verification too now as a compliance manager. If a customer states that he's into, let's use a very good example, mining now, and there has to be a form of license, there has to be basic documents. You have to verify those things. Customer will tell you that, okay, I stay in so area. You realize that you, as a compliance manager, you have to also take time to go and visit that address that the customer has presented for verification. You have to verify that address in some instances. So you realize that those things actually take time. Then there's also the issue of engagement with law enforcement agency. That is when you try to respond to the inquiries. There are instances like the police, EFCC, they bring in documents, making inquiries, you respond, and it develops to an invite because they need clarification. They do not understand what you even presented to them. So you see that it takes time. You go there, spend hours, maybe in their waiting room, maybe 2 hours. You sit down, you keep on explaining these things to them, and before you know it, the whole of your day has been taken. So there's also the issue of engagement too with relationship managers. So when you see a particular trend of maybe there's a step in KYC that is very important that relationship managers and officers are missing, or they omit, you have to start training them all over. There has to be engagement. You see that you are, what do you call it? You keep on repeating yourself, but it shouldn't deter you now as a compliance manager. You just, have to, because training is a very important role. It is even part of the regulation, that is CDD regulation, Customer Due Diligence Regulation 2023. CBN has stated that ongoing training should be ongoing. So you should not stop training all staff across the board. It's not limited to relationship managers. Everybody must be trained. So that is basically what takes our time, I feel, as a compliance manager. I mentioned AML investigation, KYC reviews, and engagement with regulatory bodies, and also responding to, training staff.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So you mentioned, you spoke a lot about the strategic business unit. So how do you balance regulations and the business objectives? So you have to be in between the strategic business unit and the regulator. So how do you balance this, ensuring that uh, they make their profits and the business does not infringe on any of those laid down regulations that you set?
Okay, so yes, any business is trying to make profit, right? Although when you are trying to make profit, you have to do it right. So there are internal and external policies that each organization must have, and is even a requirement under governance structure. Now, um, first of all, in order to balance the business and regulation, you need to start engaging with the business as early as possible. So when you find out that things are not in place, I'll give you an instance again using KYC. Maybe a missing document. Maybe customer is supposed to submit an additional document. You have to quickly notify them that look, oh, this is your account that you opened. It has issues. You need to quickly nip it on the board. Engage your customer and get this document for us in order to regularize it. If not, the bank is not going to pay any fine for your customer. You need to actually contact your customer and get this thing done as early as possible. So, firstly, is by engaging early with the business. Secondly, you have to understand you yourself as a compliance manager. It's not about regulation. No, you need to also understand the objectives of the business. So, what is your business trying to even achieve? You know, these are the things that will help guide you in order to balance the business and the regulation. So if your business is saying that okay, we have a target of let's say 1 million naira, how do we achieve this? What is the number of accounts? What is the number of what do you call it? The number of um, number of accounts you can open in order to meet this target. Now you need to always you need to when you understand that objective, you can advise your business better. So in your spool, you spooled in the list of accounts that have been opened, and you are still tier one account. How are you going to meet these targets with such customers? Tier one account, everybody knows it has limits, right? Well, not everybody, but most people in the banking understand that it has limits, that you cannot do huge transactions. So how are you going to achieve that target with a lot of tier one accounts? So now you can engage your relationship managers and tell them that look, these accounts you're opening, they are not going to make us meet this thing. If we should try and get tier three account. Okay, this customer that you're saying tier one, what he's saying he's a director in ministry. Okay, he's a director in ministry. A director is ministry. Why are you opening a tier one account for him? You'll be able to properly advise that the business that look, this client, what you're offering this client is less than um what his will I say risk space, his net worth is. So these are the things that you can also come in and play as a compliance person. So also when you are trying to balance the regulation and between regulation and business, you have to also provide a compliant alternative instead of saying no, no, you cannot do this. No, you have to provide an alternative. It's not all about being a roadblock to business. When you see, I had one boss before. He said, compliance, you put are my friends, because he understood. He had an experience when one of the law enforcement agencies invited him and we had to go there. He saw how we actually passionately defended him, and he felt that compliance are my friends. So if anything goes wrong, please let us know. So these are the things. So you have to let them know that look, there's a middle line, don't cross this part, but you can stand here for now. So please try and ensure that you provide alternatives for your business. I think that as a compliance person, it's going to give you a plus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So very quickly, can we talk about any sequels in recent times that's impacted how you carry out your day-to-day job activities? So off the top of my head, I know there's this authorized push payments secular that they release, dot check. So any other secular that we have released in 2025 that have impacted how you get your job done within the compliance space?
Okay. I feel the particular one that a lot of banks were fined on was ATM uptime. You agree with me that that has been that has been a challenge. That has been a challenge for everyone because number one, you have to have the cash first before you even load it to your ATM. That's one.
Yeah, definitely.
Secondly, you cannot predict a machine, so he may have been paying maybe for the past 4 hours, and that 1 hour that CBN auditors come to your branch, it stopped working, and they won't hear anything
Yeah,
again. They'll
yeah,
just
yeah.
fire you. So particularly that is the most interesting policy I feel is it's it's a funny one. It's a funny one. I'll call it a funny one. But still, we have to comply, and although we don't have any say, as our regulators have already stated, all ATMs must be up and running. Thank you.
Okay, so Ali, I know based on how long you have been in the space, you were around when the Money Laundering Act of 2012 was in play, and when we changed to that for 2022. So after we moved on to that for 2022, what did you say changed within the compliance space from what you
Sorry, come
observed?
again. You said what?
So did you get the question? Now,
No, no,
I
no.
was
You
saying
were
that
mentioning one policy.
based on
Yeah.
how long you have yeah, based on how long you have been in the space, the Anti-Money Laundering Act for 2012 and that for 2022,
Oh,
you saw how these
wonderful.
two played out within the industry. So, what do you think changed after that for 2022 was implemented?
See, that ML CFT, it's how do I even say it? Anyway, there are some things that should not be mentioned in publisher, but all banks have tried, or let me say, are meeting up with the requirements. I want to interest you in something now. It's not even about the AML/CFT regulation. The CDD, Customer Due Diligence Regulation. It also has. I would say that it was AML/CFT was integrated into it, right? Now,
Definitely,
do you know
definitely.
that it's not all about complying? That even your compliance process, you have to be testing it regularly. That's where compliance testing even comes in. If you look before, how many compliance officers do you know? No, let's be honest now. Since you started and now, since I started, then
Yeah, I get you.
internal control was more of the, how do I say, the defenders, the second level defenders. Compliance and control is all our
They all
responsibility.
function
All our
within the
providers.
defense space.
Yes. So now, um, the CDD regulation, it introduced a more, the reason why I'm saying CDD is more recent than the AML CFT because they tweaked some things to it. Now it introduced a more stricter onboarding standard, right? It's mentioned beneficial owner. We all know how Nigeria is. You see a very big hotel and the hotel is former governor Graham that owns it. You know, it's a general knowledge, but on the CAC and whatnot, it's not Graham's name that is there, it's Ali Ali. So these are
Yeah, you will
these
find my
so
name on anything.
so these are the how would I say? So it's more so for the past, I would like say 5 years, regulation has been different, totally different. Before, we used to have branches that only two of their ATMs worked. They may have six terminals. Now try it and see. In short, I know banks that even decommission some of their ATMs just to be top. So it's a different ball game all over now. Then we have the issue of KYC CDD. They are okay now. Before a customer will tell you that their line of business is their source of income is from their business. They'll just write business. What type of business are you doing? You have to state it now. Are you doing grain business, spare parts? You have to deep down and understand your customer. Then again, on the CDD regulation, CBN is now telling you that you have to be doing. Okay, so we have different classifications of due diligence, right? Simple due diligence, CBN has stated it. I think it should be, is it at 6 months? Is it at 6 or 24 months? Then there's medium. That's for medium customer. But in Nigeria, I've not seen medium risk rating for customers, right? It's more of
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to see low and high.
Yeah. So you look at okay, this type of you have to renew due diligence of the customer for a particular time based on their risk rating. You have for simple, and let's just merge simple and medium one. Then you have EDD for enhanced due diligence now for high risk customers. You know what it means? Customer must always provide, after 1 year, you must fill EDD on the customer. You must verify the customer's address. You must verify the customer's information again. So imagine imagine how many high risk accounts we have as a bank. You are a banker too. Imagine the number of high risk accounts you have. So you ask yourself, is it doable? Okay, it's doable. You must do it because CBI has stated it now in their regulation. So that's why I'm like, the whole AML CFT stuff is not like before. It's stricter. We have lots of sanctions going up and down. When you look at financial statements of banks, you realize that banks are paying a lot for sanctions due to not meeting regulations. And you see this CDD 2023, it is the one that is biting us. I have a feeling that it's going to be reviewed again because this our new CBN governor, Yomi Cardoso, is more of if you observe, every how do I say it? Okay, every administration have have their policy. Now, when you read during Buhari, it was more of social policy, helping farmers, reducing charges for banking transactions and the rest. But now, it's more of compliance. That is why by 31st March now, a lot of banks are trying to meet with the capitalization requirement. That's one. Secondly, it was yesterday, we saw the new circular that's a different thing. Those ones are stockbrokers. They have their own wahala. That's their own wahala there. But if you look at the policy of an administration, you will have like an idea of what is to come. And I'm telling you, I have a very strong feeling that by 31st March, you will see that before this year runs out, you see more and more how do I say it? More and more policies, more and more let me just use the word weird here. Policies that we are not too used to will come up before the year runs out. So thank you, Graham.
Okay, and so I don't know, recently, have you faced any challenges in implementing requirements that were stipulated by regulators recently?
So, okay, now implementing new requirements.
Any challenges you have faced?
Okay. That's what I'm trying to. I'm getting there. So, implementing new requirements within timelines, right? It's the major challenge is because of the number of stakeholders you have. Now, as a compliance manager, don't forget you are not a compliance manager to only operations staff. We have different units and subunits in the whole bank. So there are a lot of stakeholders. Now, stakeholder A can be ready. Now, tell you that we're ready. Stakeholder B will tell you that people have to wait to let us check first. Let us see this. Let us do this. We have to even go and engage the CBN first. Let them give us response that okay, this is what we want to do. There are instances that when you want to, even when the policy states this, but you still send a letter to CBN and tell them that this is what we want to do based on this your policy. Then CBN will still need to give you approval for that. You understand? So there are instances like that. So the major challenge now is when the policy comes out, yes, at least CBN has been magnanimous enough to, give us realistic timelines. If you observe, when the policy comes out, at least 12 months, especially when there are strict policies, maybe operations, not strict, operational, there could be operational changes or work, you see that CBN will give you realistic timelines to meet that. So based on that, I think the engagement, the back and forth, then then the major one now is even understanding the policy itself, because the way I will translate a policy will be different from the way Graham will interpret it, right? You interpret it in a way different from myself. So those are the major challenges. So me particularly, I felt I think it was more of an internal policy at one end when we were trying to introduce ZF1 to a lot of transactions in order to, verify customers that are coming to the branch, and you realize that there's um, there's a lot of there's a lot of push from the operation side stating that you have added one more item to their workflow for a particular transaction, so people can be adverse to change. They don't want anything that will come and stop what they are used to, because you are telling me I'm used to 3 steps, now you're adding one more step, it has become 4 steps. So that's the challenge. Again, we have issues surrounding the marketing aspect too. RMs now, we are telling you that you have to ask the customer what is the customer doing. Don't just put business for me on my KYC form. Don't say source of wealth, salary. State it there. Salary from where? Where is the person working? What's his grade? State it there. That is completely KYC, knowing your customer to the fullest. Also, then there's also the issue of documentation, right? If you don't have a system in place that will even support that change, again, now documentation is very key to us as a bank. You realize that we have instances where changes may be made to the infrastructure, that is the system infrastructure, in order to in order to meet up with the new regulation. Thank you.
Okay, Ali, thank you. So, what about tools and processes you use that simplify your job process? So, can you share a couple of those things for us? Tools, processes you guys use over to your end that you feel
Well,
simplify
now
your job?
I'm sure, I am 1,000,000% sure every bank in the industry has the transaction monitoring tool. Because if they don't, there's problem. Transaction monitoring tools are I think important, and I've used them. In some instances it's alert, in some instances it's you'll be on a platform and to pick it. I even had a discussion recently with a colleague in the industry, and he was telling me about how AI picks out transactions for them. So it's not more about false positive. So what false positive means, for those of us who don't know, is more like system alerting you that somebody's transaction is suspicious. But when you look at it, it's in line with the customer's what do you call it? It's in line with the customer's transaction pattern. So transaction monitoring tools, KYC platforms, where you don't need to start engaging people in order to get a document be it getting statement of customer statement of account, KYC, you know, we have regulatory trackers too. That is all inquiries from every law enforcement agent, from regulators. When they submit their letters, we should have a proper tracker for. We have I've used proper trackers for that. Risk assessment tools and risk assessment tools are important too. You have to have a system now. I'll give you an instance. We have designated non-financial institutions, those ones that do high volume of, they are particularly a subsection of businesses that do high volume of transactions. When you look at it, you see that most times their businesses are of high risk. So we have people like somebody that sells cars, the car dealer now already, when I'm just going back to the system process of risk assessment. So when you are putting it on the system that this guy is a car dealer, automatically it raises the customer as high. You don't need me, myself, as a compliance person to come and tell you that this customer is a high risk customer. So we have also, as I mentioned, stock documentation process. Archiving is very important. We have seen what CBN people said. Again, I'm going back to that customer due diligence regulation. That's why I say, you see that CDD regulation 2023. It has a lot of. If you want to understand what is happening now, just go to the CDD regulation. It's even stated how long you have to keep a customer's data for 5 years. I know banks that have done 10, that do 10 years set, that after the customer has stopped, that maybe you have stopped, this customer has stopped banking with you, and account has been closed, you have to maintain the customer's documentation for information and documentation for 5 years. So you have to have a comprehensive uh, documentation tool also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So, are there things you wish like people know about compliance? There's a lot of misunderstanding about what people do in compliance space. So, are there things you wish that people get to know so they get to understand what you guys do?
Sorry, Graham, I didn't get that. Apologies.
Said like, are there spots you wish that people know about what you guys do in the compliance space so they better understand what your job entails? So they don't misunderstand what you're trying to do.
I'm sorry, you skipped a bit. Apologies.
Okay, Ali, I was saying, are there things you wish people know about the compliance space? You get that will
Okay,
help them to better
okay, okay,
understand
okay, okay,
what
okay, okay,
you do. Yeah.
okay, 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 okay. So what I keep on telling people, right? First of all, before I even answer that question, we as compliance, and let me say control to an extent, eh? We kind of I would like to say some people shall not all. We isolate ourselves. We want to form CIA. We just go to one office and keep ourselves. We don't, engage, harmonize with
Interact with
our
them.
auditees. So let me use the word auditees. So first of all, I think that's where the misconception usually comes in. Because now, if you are my friend and I tell you put your hand in this fire, not to your apple, you put your hand inside the fire. Abi? So first of all, right, it all boils down on our character as compliance managers. Let's try and fix it. It's not all out. We are not at war with anybody. Yes, we have our our KPIs, our promise to the institution. We have to give management that reasonable assurance that we are we are on top of our game. CBN will not come and sanction us. We are looking at everything. We won't allow money launderers and thieves to use our institution to steal money. Yes, we know that, but please, I think we should first of all fix ourselves. Then secondly, to business operations team. First of all, we as compliance, compliance is not about blocking business, right? We are just there to protect the institution. And in order to do, and when we do that, we enable a sustainable growth, right? That is business. The business grows because there are no fines, there are no bad press against us. These are risks that we can face. So, and also it helps compliance is there to manage risk, not to expose us, not to be bottlenecks to the business. Thank you.
Okay, Ali, so before we wrap up, so what would be your advice for guys that are trying to come into the space? So what one experiences you want to share with them that will help them succeed in the compliance space in Nigeria?
Okay, let me start as my CCO will say. See something, say something, and do something. When you see something, you say something. When you say something, you have to also do something. It's not just about seeing and keep it quiet. Please do something. Escalate, to your bosses, to the bosses of the business, and let everybody be aware of what the issue is. Then, if you don't want them to see, you are the one that is escalating, you have your whistleblowing channels that you must use, because in every organization, yes, most of us are there to earn our salary, but close to you, beside you, we have bad actors. Nobody can tell me that in the bank they worked, they have not heard of fraud cases. We have bad actors, and every fraud, if you observe, there is always a sign. You will see somebody's salary that is not up to 500,000 driving a car of 2020 Corolla. You see things like that. You have to say something. That's why. Then, on a personal note, you have to build strong regulatory knowledge. I, for once, I have. I'm always on Twitter. I have notification on for Nairametrics, ProShare, and Tech Cabal. So those three now are very key. They kind of cover what is happening in the industry. In short, sometimes I'll be surprised. I'll see a policy coming out through Tech Cabal before the CBN handles even releases it. We have instances like that. So you have to build strong regulatory knowledge. Then they develop integrity, because let me tell you the truth. In what I have seen in this life, people will come and tempt you with money. Allow this thing to pass now. Don't worry, don't worry. Before you know, customer will start calling you to send account number. Just because you did something for them. So please have integrity, have strong integrity. You'll be tempted in this job, on this job. Believe me, I have seen it, and I have seen a lot. So believe me when I say you'll be tempted. A lot of people will try and entice you in order to hide something. Then you have to develop communication skills. That's very important. When you send a mail, right? Please be as you don't need to use big words. We're all Nigerians, please. Nobody like me now. I I'll just read, I don't even read daily. I'll just start from the first paragraph. What do you want? I analyze it, look at it. I'll read it once, twice, three times before I even respond to you and tell you that this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what you need to do. You have to build strong communication skills. Stay curious. You have to stay very curious, because you are the second level of defense now. When things happen, right, and you are not too sure, please ask questions. You asking questions have even the way the person will respond to you. That's the person you are reviewing, or what you are reviewing on, or document, or whatever you are reviewing, or person you are engaging. The way it responds to you will give you that feeling that, okay, this is right. No, this doesn't actually make sense. Hold on. Then ensure you place calls to more experienced and senior colleagues, right? I'll always give a thumbs up. Hola. Hello. Sorry, Graham. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, I went up briefly. Apologies. So I have this CCO. Thumbs up to her always, Abigail. She has this thing. When you place a call to her and she cannot pick or she doesn't pick, she'll chat you. What's up? Any issue? Please always try and engage your more experienced colleagues in the line of job. It will help you. You can get advice from people you are in the same department with, people from marketing too. Forget you are seeing most of these marketers, most of them too have worked in compliance. Believe me, I have friends that were marketers that joined to compliance, from compliance, they have jumped to marketing. So you have to ask, engage people a lot. Then, as I stated, you have to keep learning. Compliance doesn't stop with your GCP ACAM certification. You have to keep learning. In short, go beyond what do you call it? Go beyond the Nigerian
Certification.
sector. No, go beyond the certification. But when you are reading about a banking sector, go beyond Nigeria, go beyond Africa, go and see what's happening in Asia,
Oh, okay.
go and see what's happening in
Globally,
the
yeah.
UK. Globally, you have to understand what is happening around you, the industry worldwide. Then, last but not least, right? We have the business reality. Every excuse me, every business person is out there to meet their numbers, right? That is the reality. You now as a compliance person,
Definitely.
you now as a compliance person, you have the reality of risk. Now going back to that question you asked me, how do we balance it? Is a question that nobody has an answer for. Because when you see something that is wrong, you are adamant. This thing is wrong. This transaction cannot flow. We cannot open this account. This thing is bad. And then they will tell you that this person is going to give us money when we onboard this person, or we want to allow this transaction to pass. We will meet our numbers. This is January 2026. We will meet our numbers for the year. Don't you want us to rest? Those are the two those are the advice I have for everybody. You have to understand the business reality and the reality of risk too. So try and balance it. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you to Ali. So before we wrap up, so you know recently Paystack just acquired Lama Microfinance Bank. So what are your comments on this?
Okay, we have seen well before now they say if you cannot if you cannot beat them, you join them, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, kudos to the fintechs. Actually, they have brought in innovation to the industry to look at their applications and what their application is doing, right? You see that, so this is doable like this. This is doable. I give you an instance. I was with a friend. He left his ATM in my house, so we went out together. Went to shop and say I forgot his ATM. I said, okay, no problem. I'll make the payments. Then I also forgot my own ATM. Now, in the what do you call it? In the supermarket, they have this decking that you have to go outside to make transfer. So he mentioned something to me. He's an IT person. He mentioned something to me. He said the app for that fintech now, you won't need to go outside to make this transfer because it doesn't need as much data. You understand what I mean? So it doesn't need that strong connectivity for you to transact. I was surprised. So on the way back, I was curious. As I mentioned, you have to be curious whatever you are doing. As how is that possible? So he mentioned it that the infrastructure they are using is different from what you are using in the conventional bank. I'm not trying to sell fintech, so I'm just using them as an example. So Fintechs now have, will I say have, or they are. We saw the acquisition of a microfinance bank by Paystack, right? Everyone was like, what? Why? You know, I was even curious to see what really prompted them into that. Then I read something from one of their VPs. She said it's actually 100 years plan. So they had a plan for that before. It was just time for them to do it now. You know, it was just time for them to do it now. I'm like, wow. Then we saw Flutterwave too with Mono, the open banking. Let's say,
Startup,
tech.
yeah, startup.
Yeah, startup. Thank you, startup. So open banking is more of with customers' consent. Customers' consent now. Bank B can get customers complete information from bank A for. I've just let me just use KYC to open an account. So customer doesn't need to come and start filling his information again for bank B. You know. So I'm curious that why did Flutterwave go that far? Now, truth be said, if you look at our conventional banks too, they are not sleeping. Oh. I don't know if you have observed. Most of these
Yeah,
holding companies
definitely.
too, they have started their own fintech. So, Access have
Yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of using
yeah.
IBC, Genesis have their own selling bank. They started with
Stanbic,
Vector, Stanbic too, Wema,
yeah.
Wema Alert. So already there's a competition. Nigeria is a very big market, the largest, most populous country in Africa, over 220 million individuals. So the market is there for everybody, but it's not about it being for everybody. Will you be ready? So with this, I think it will be an eye opener for the banks, the conventional banks, to ensure that they not even meet up, they exceed the expectations. Because what it means now is these fintechs they are coming to set a very strong what they call it standard. We even have a telecommunications company having payments service licenses. MTN
Yeah,
has
quite true.
Momo, Airtel has what's the name, smart type, smart
I'm
type.
pretty sure neighbor, I know I've seen that.
So I won't say it's a disruption per se, but it's an eye opener and a challenge to everybody in the industry. If you are left behind, uh, you'll be in trouble. You'll be in trouble. I think that is the word. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you to our listeners. So I think we'll call it a wrap for today. Just so our viewers, thank you for joining in. Like and subscribe. Like the video and subscribe to our channel so you'll be informed when thank you. Thank you and have a nice day.
All right, Graham. Thank you.